This episode of Between the Reps is brought to you by BetterHelp. Sometimes life gets muddy and complicated and you don't really see a clear path forward. The therapist at BetterHelp gave me a roadmap to navigate issues that were holding me back and helped me develop better coping skills and the ability to look at a situation from outside my own perspective. Whether you're dealing with decisions around your career, relationships, or anything else, therapy helps you stay connected to what you really want while you navigate life. If you're thinking about therapy, give BetterHelp a try. BetterHelp is entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and totally suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Let therapy be your roadmap with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/reps today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/reps.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Between the Reps with Brooke and Jeanna. Devin is not here today. She's been at her daughter's graduation and getting her moved somewhere.
Tennessee.
We have a guest on today. I was a guest on this beautiful, wonderful woman's podcast called Fearlessly Authentic. Her name is Jodi Harrison Bauer. And we're here to just, shoot the shit and chat about aging gracefully, post-menopausal. We're talking about aging gracefully and, all things to do with post-menopausal women. I have no idea what that's like.
Good for you.
But I'm sitting here with two women that do. And you guys know that Jeanna has been my North Star for aging since I was like, oh no, Jeanna, like 23.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that.
Yes.
It's a long time.
Number one, keep your face out of the sun.
I say that all the time.
Yeah.
So true.
Younger the better.
On that note, welcome, Jody.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk to you guys.
Yeah. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and then about your podcast?
Oh, okay. So I am Jodi Harrison Bauer. I'm 62 years old, and I've been in the fitness business for about 35 years. I've been working out for 40, and I recently retired from fitness because it was time. It was time to just take care of myself and, do something else and really go lean in really hard about getting older in a very healthy way. And even though I talked to my clients about this at different ages and stages of their lives, because I had women who were in their 20s up to women in their 70s. So everybody's different age and stage was different. And as being in the fitness industry and training people, you've got to be somewhat of a chameleon. So talking to women and grandmas and so on and so forth. But as a 62-year-old woman, I wanted to lean in really hard in helping women whose voices may not be heard because they're not talking loud enough, which is what happened with Sports Illustrated. So been in the fitness industry for 35 years. I'm a 2-time world bikini champion. I did that at 49 when everybody told me I was too old to get on stage in a skimpy bikini and stripper heels. Competed for 10 years. And then in 2019, I tried out for Sports Illustrated swim issue. I competed against more than 10,000 women, more than half my age, and got into the top 60, made global news, New York Post, every People magazine, Good Morning America. And that's when I realized that I had the opportunity to make a global impact. So then the pandemic, and then I started the podcast because I realized that I was always afraid to take risks my whole life. This is the problem when you ask me about myself, because I'm 62, there's so much to tell you. I was always afraid to take risks, and I was always trying to please other people. So I wasn't really, when I was married for 17 years, and I have 2 daughters, 34 and 30, that I wasn't being my truthful self. I wasn't standing in my truth. I didn't know those words 21, 22 years ago when I got divorced. But I knew something was off. And it wasn't until my early 40s that I stepped into my truth. I started figuring out who I was, reinventing myself. And I want every woman to feel that way. I don't want anyone woman to feel that they've got to be something for somebody else, and to do it with courage and authenticity. So I named the show Fearlessly Authentic. So that's where I am right now. Yeah. And I just actually
teach us your ways.
What's that?
Teach us your ways.
So sweet. This is funny. Recently, I posted a Reels video that went viral, over 15 million views. I think it's up to 15.4 views now, 15.4 million views. And all I said was that I was 62, I was post-menopausal, and there was one other message on there. But it's crazy because it really, again, just like with Sports Illustrated, I realized I was touching on something that women need to hear more about. So
I agree. Absolutely. I mean, I feel like you kind of see women like up to like 40, and then it's like poof.
Right. Then everybody's
non-existent.
Where'd they go?
Yeah, where'd they go?
I think what happens, right. I think when women hit, like, there are a lot of elder millennials on the cusp of an elder millennial and a Gen Z, right? Mm-hmm. That there's the elder millennials who are hitting 40 right now think that, look at me, I'm a sexy motherfucker, I look great, I'm fit, like, look at me. Social media wasn't around for me to say, look at me back then. And I'm thrilled that these women are taking such good care of themselves. But like you said, then they hit 45, 48, and they're like, oh, I don't feel so sexy
Don't
anymore.
look at me.
Right.
Don't look at me. Don't look at me. And we need to
look away.
Wait, look away, please. Oh, I forgot I'm not supposed to be in the sun. Oh, yeah, I forgot that I can't eat everything. And thank you, hormones, for reminding me of that. And where did the belly come from? And where did all those things come from? So I think that there needs to be a voice for those women between 45. There are a lot of Gen Zers, 45, 55, that the generation behind the baby boomers. Those women are going through menopause right now. They're experiencing perimenopausal symptoms. They're going through menopause. They're becoming empty nesters. All of those things. They might even have some grandchildren. I don't know. I don't have any. And it's just their voices need to be heard. And I think a lot of them are on social media and are speaking up, and they're very brave about it. But nobody my age, you don't hear a lot of women over 60 talking about, okay, well, I have survived menopause, right? Now what? I'm like, now you thrive. Now you fucking thrive. So
yeah,
I love that message. Yeah. I just was talking to somebody about this because I feel like my 40s were great. Like I was probably in the best shape because, my kids were older. I had more time to work on myself, like my body and, what I was just about me. And so I felt the best that I ever had. And then all of a sudden the 50s hit because I'm 53 now. And I'm like, and I was doing exactly that. Like I thought that I had,
whoa.
I know this sounds ridiculous, but I thought that I had somehow become like an anomaly because I'd gone through menopause early. So I had my last period at 46.
Oh, wow. So, I had my last period at 50.
Okay. Yeah. So I was 46. So I was like, oh, like this isn't so bad. And then I hit 50 and I was like, it's a little different. But then like, I was just keep saying it, like 52 did me dirty. Like all of a sudden I was like, what is this? Like what is this belly? What is it? Why all of a sudden does it look like I have, somebody hit me in the hips with a golf ball or something?
And when did your ass become flat? Right.
Yeah. Like what is happening?
I know. 50s are tough. They're really tough.
Oh my gosh.
They're very, very messy, messy middle life. It really is messy middle life. And you're going to get through it. And because you've taken such good care of yourself, you will get through it. But it is, I've already sworn on here, so I guess it's okay to swear, but it's a big mind fuck.
It is.
It really, like you're saying, you doubt yourself. You're like, wait, when did this happen to me?
Yeah. When did I get cellulite on my stomach? Like this is bizarre, like it's just, how did I get cellulite on my calves? Like what? How am I the same weight, but I have cellulite on my calves? Like it makes zero sense.
I know. And I feel bad for women that are going through that, especially women that have never really taken care of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So like Brooke, you are like a great example of like a woman in her 30s who's been working out. All of us have worked out, but like you think, okay, I'm doing everything right. So if you start from doing everything right, and then you're still feeling this way in your 50s, can you imagine if you had never done the prep work to be where you are in your 50s? You'd be like trying to play the catch-up game. And that's the message I try to tell everybody now. Like, look, my message isn't just for women over 60. My message is for the 20, 30, 40, 50 and beyond women, because when you hit your 60s, it's a whole new orbit and it's not too late, but you do have to catch up really fast. And I'm not saying it's not possible, because we know as women, anything is possible. If you give us a challenge, we're going to try our hardest to beat it. But it just makes everything harder, right? So if we stayed out of the sun most of our life, we won't have to deal with those repercussions. When I was growing up, we didn't use sunscreen.
Mm-mm.
You know,
I don't wear sunscreen.
You
now.
baby oil.
You should. Please put.
I've a vetoed sunscreen on my body. I use mineral sunscreen on my face and that's it. And I try not to eat seed oils, and I don't get sunburn.
Okay.
I'm not advocating that. You guys can make your own choices through my own research and my health journey post competition.
Wait, can you tell me about the seed oil? You don't.
Yeah, there's a theory that because of all the seed oils that are in almost every product that we use, in all of our food, anything that is processed or whatever, there's a theory that is actually a big. It creates and adds to the negative side effects of the sun.
UV rays.
Yep. And I personally, I've known about it, but like even more studies coming out talking about all of the cancer causing and really bad chemicals that are in all sunscreens, unless they are mineral based or like 100% zinc. And they say that baby sunscreen is the worst.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So now I'll use mineral sunscreen, but I don't, and I have, if I'm out in the sun for a long time, I'll just put on whatever is around. But I definitely have just tried more so to not stay in the sun too long.
Right.
I put mineral sunscreen on my face every day. I started sunscreen my face. When, Jeanna? Back when I was 22?
Yeah. Yeah. Put some sunscreen on your face.
And I always used like, Elta MD or something that was mineral based or had like zinc, something.
That's what I use.
But
yeah. So that's okay to use, right? Mm-hmm. Elta MD. Okay.
Like mineral based sunscreen is really what you want. All the store-bought stuff is pretty full of bad stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't go in the sun anymore. I met my now husband when I was 50, almost 55. And he is a pathologist. So he looks at cancer and things like that.
Man, that's great find.
I know.
That is a great find.
And let me just tell you this.
It's like when you were dating that back doctor.
Wait.
Yeah,
wait, I want to tell you
younger than me.
I'll tell you that and he played in a band too. So he plays congas and bongos. So that's how I met him. I was actually dancing with my then fiance when I met my now husband. But anyway, so he didn't know that I was going to break up with him. But anyway, so I met my husband, and one day I was laying out in the sun, like on the beach, and he comes outside and he goes, "Jody, what the fuck are you doing?" And I said, "What?" He's very light. He has like long hair down to here, but he's light skinned. He's Hungarian. Like he's not from Hungary, but like he's of Hungarian descent. So he's very fair skinned. He's never been, and he just doesn't go in the sun. He doesn't believe in it. He's just not a sun person. So Jody, what the fuck are you doing? I said, "I have sunscreen on. Leave me alone. Leave me alone." He goes, "Do you understand what's going on?" I said, "What?" Yeah, I said, "All the damage has been done already." So he goes, "It's breaking down the collagen in your skin." I go,
Oh, never mind.
Say less. Goodbye, sun.
I'm like, okay, that's it. And honestly, you guys, and that was literally the last time I laid in the sun. Like, all you had to do is tell me.
Have to be told once.
Right. So that's why, I'm just, yeah, it does. It ages you.
You should see Jeanna at the beach.
Oh yeah.
Sleeves.
I do. I wear and a
with your
hat.
hair.
I'll put like
hot as shit.
I'll put like a towel over the top of me. I just look like I'm in a tent.
I know. It's almost not worth it, right?
No, everybody makes fun of me. And it's funny because I have a girlfriend she just turned 45 and she's a giant sun lover. And I'm constantly telling her like, she's like, I put sunscreen on. I'm like, we've been out here for like 4 hours. Like you're still doing damage to your skin. Like, please listen to me, and now it's funny because now and I've been telling her for years and now she's like starting to go, oh, I have all these lines. Like you don't have these right here. And I'm like, it's the sun. You have to stay out of the sun. And it's funny because I think it's so good that you're speaking to younger people also, it's not just older audience, because I think when you're younger, when you're 20s, 30s, even like early 40s, and you're still, because we have so many things now to help us stay looking younger. We've got Botox and, all these other things and lasers and stuff. And it works up until then. Right. And then all of a sudden it starts happening and it feels like it's such a rapid happening of the aging process.
Well, right. It's like a rapid decline.
It's like it's like all of a sudden it's like, whoa, even like from year to year, you're like, whoa.
Absolutely.
Back to the drawing board.
Yeah. When you're younger, you're like, oh, I'll be so old, then I won't care. And it's like, then you get to this age and you're like, I'm not old. I don't feel old.
This episode of Between the Reps is brought to you by BetterHelp. Sometimes life gets muddy and complicated and you don't really see a clear path forward. The therapist at BetterHelp gave me a roadmap to navigate issues that were holding me back and helped me develop better coping skills and the ability to look at a situation from outside my own perspective. Whether you're dealing with decisions around your career, relationships, or anything else, therapy helps you stay connected to what you really want while you navigate life, so you can move forward feeling confident and excited. If you're thinking about therapy, give BetterHelp a try. BetterHelp is entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and totally suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Let therapy be your roadmap with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/reps today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/reps.
That's funny that you brought that up because my daughter and I just started another podcast called Old.
I love that.
We'll be releasing it, I think, the end of June, beginning of July. We did our first episode we recorded last week when she was here. And I asked her, she's 30, I'm 62. I'm like, I don't think I'm old, but 62 is like kind of old, isn't it?
It sounds old.
Right. Yeah. She's like, yeah, Mom. It is like old. Like
me and my parents talk about how old is a choice.
It's all in your mind.
Your the way you have to handle with your things that change in your body, or how much exercise you can do and not totally pay for it, right? Like there's things that do have to change. You do have to adjust as you get older, but the mindset is a choice because my parents' best friends, my dad's friend Kendall. My dad loves to talk. We joke about how he now drives like a really old guy. And my dad has given him shit. Like he said, they were out on a mountain bike ride and they're driving back and he goes, Kendall, you've turned into one of those guys that we used to yell at. And he goes, yup, yes, I have. And I'm like, it's a choice. Like my parents are very active. And as long as they don't make the choice to be like, almost like put yourself in a box of like, right. I'm old now.
Right.
I
need to be sedentary.
I can't do that. I'm old. now whatever it is you're doing, activity or whatever, now it may look a lot different than when you were 50, 40, 30, but you can still do things. But it really is like a couple things. Are you willing to do those things in a healthy way for your body now? If you can't adapt with that and find like an in-between that still makes you feel good, then you might be someone who's like an all or nothing. Like, well, I'm old now. Or you can be like, I'm older, but I still, I can still.
That's called
still
giving
lift
up.
heavy. I can still lift heavy. I mean, it really becomes a lifestyle, a mindset. Yes. Do my workouts look a little bit different? Do all of our workouts look a little bit different? Of course they do, but we're still working out. We're still moving our body. We're still eating the way we need to fuel our body. And, I go to the gym and I feel just as strong. I think I'm still in my 40s. I feel like I still can lift that same way. But honestly, I'm lifting a little bit less, but with perfect form, and to me, as long as I'm doing it, that makes me, and you leave there feeling young. And that's really where then that leads to taking more risks, like healthy risks, chances in doing things that really make you feel the way you want to feel. Because as you said, it really is a choice, but it's never too late either.
So I'm going to let you guys do it just because, you've lived a little longer than me.
Okie dokie.
For like women in their 20s, women in their 30s, 40s, 50s, what is some advice you would give to that age group for like those stages in their life?
Do you want to go first?
Oh no, I'm no expert. I'm going to let you do all of it.
Okay. So for women in their 40s, if they haven't started lifting yet, moving their bodies yet, they need to start moving their bodies. To me, it's really important to lift weights, to do some form of resistance training. Now, when women hear the word lift weights, they think they have to be like a bodybuilder, which is so dumb because we've had this discussion a gazillion times, ladies. You do not need to look like a bodybuilder. We're not ever asking you to do that. We're asking you to do resistance training. Okay. Brooke, did you want to say something about that?
Well, I was going to say that it actually is the most important thing for men and women, but for women, as we get older, it is to be lifting weights. It is to be doing squats. I mean, if you just wanted to do your main lifts like squat, deadlift, bench press, and overhead press, but it is for bone density. It's for overall health. And it's way harder as we get older to, like, at a certain point, to put on muscle. So if you don't start weight training when you're younger, it's going to feel even harder if you're starting later in life. So
absolutely.
And what I used to tell people, because I would have, I have all the time. I mean, Jeanna was around for a lot of it. You'd have people like, oh my God, you look incredible. Like, I want to look like you, but like not as big.
Right. Yeah.
And I would then say like, oh, you don't have to worry about that. Like the chances of anyone actually having the dedication, the amount of time day in, day out for years to do it, you're going to be just fine. You can't catch muscle. All right. It's not like a sickness where like you touch a weight once and boom, you're huge.
I mean, if it were so easy,
it would be awesome.
Like, it would be so awesome. I have so many friends who will be like, oh, you look great. Like, what are you doing? And I'll tell them that, oh, I don't want to get bulky. I'm like, do I look bulky? I mean, like, I'm having a hard time even like keeping any kind of definition on anything at this point, like there's no, the time that you would have to put in, and it's definitely not going to start now. There's no way you're going to get bulky.
No.
Well,
I don't want to look muscly.
Right. Brooke, I used to get the same thing that, and they would always say, but I don't want to look like you. I don't want to be that muscular. And I said, and I would say the same thing. Don't worry about it. You'll never be like this. Yeah. It won't happen because I've been working out for 20 years prior to this conversation we're having right now.
Work, it's not like you can't go to the gym for an hour and lift some weights.
It's hours,
and look like
days.
That. It's hours. Right. It's like a full-time job almost.
It is. It really is. It's a dedication and a commitment. However, However, they can still do it. They don't have to worry about looking like us. We're not asking anybody to look like us. We're just saying that if you want to age in a healthy way, the first thing you should do if you're in your 40s, even if you haven't hit perimenopause, start lifting weights, like little weights, 2-pound weights, 3-pound weights, do some type of resistance training to prevent osteoporosis, to help strengthen your core. If all you're doing is just a few movements, you're going to be strengthening your core. If you're standing and you're doing overhead presses, if you're doing lunges, if you're doing squats, any of those things that you mentioned, Brooke, you are going to be strengthening your core at the same time. Like, the clients who would say, can we just work on my abs today?
Just one thing.
Yeah, can we just work on the abs? I'm like, we work on your abs every single time you come in here. You know how you stand for an hour and we lift weights? We're working your abs. It's your diet.
People
it's your diet.
Yes. Yeah.
People would always ask, like, what, for me, they're like, what do you do for your core? And I'm like, I mean, maybe once a week we do things like accessory work, like L sits. I'm like, but my core is strong from deadlifting, from squatting, from doing almost any other move like that, because you have to brace. You strengthen your core by bracing. And the better you get at that, now we can create a more of the core that you want, versus if you're just doing crunches, it's the theory around, like, if I'm just doing crunches, I'm building it outward. If I can brace and learn how to, pull my belly button into my spine, keeping everything neutral, you're really creating a nice, strong, solid structure that's not, necessarily being, it's all working versus only working in like one direction. And that's not scientific, guys, but it's best I got.
It's core work. And that's what people have to understand. It's not just abdominal work, it's core work. And and if your diet, and so the other part is diet, right? So we've got 10%. Some people vary a little bit. My outlook is 10% of it is training, 80% of it is nutrition, and 10% of it is genetics. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm 5 feet tall. I'm never going to be 6 feet tall. I'm never going to have long legs, and I'm never going to have skinny legs. I could have blonde hair, but I'm never going to have the other things. Right. Mm-hmm. So I can't change the 10%. And if there's a propensity to be obese, they've got to work harder than the average bear. And I tell them that. I have a morbidly obese sister. That's her genetic makeup. My other sister is built like me. So that's her genetic makeup. So she wants to be fit and healthy. Stop smoking, get out of the sun, change your diet, and start moving. She's 60. She's not going to do any of those things. She's good with where she is. She's about 100 pounds overweight. Okay. I feel bad, but that is her genetic makeup. And she has not done any of the work to change that. So some of us are blessed. Some of us have to work really hard, and some of us don't have to work at all. But be aware of what your genetic makeup is and embrace it. And so diet is really important. When we say diet, I'm sure you both agree that it's, we could go deep dive into this, but I don't think that's what we want to do right now, because it could get very dry and boring. But it's making sure that you're eating enough lean protein, and you're getting your complex carbohydrates. You're fueling your body the correct way. You're not eating a lot of sugar or fried foods to make it really simple. And you're eating several small meals during the day. I mean, can I make it any more simple than that? But, and going into your 50s, it's the same thing, because what's going to happen is you start having perimenopausal symptoms. You start going through menopause, and with menopause, you have mood swings. The kids are annoying you if you have kids. You might be changing jobs. You might be changing relationships. I was in a toxic relationship. I got divorced in my 40s. At the height of the toxicity of my relationship after I got divorced, with the new person that I was in a relationship with, I was going through menopause. And I look back now and I think, well, maybe part of the toxicity, right? It wasn't all
right.
him. Was like, I was going through friggin' menopause. Like I was losing.
I went through my divorce during menopause.
It's the worst, right? It's the worst. It's the worst.
Awful.
Oh
yes.
God, so bad. And so I think that when I met my now husband, I was done. I was 54 and I was just done with it all, because it started at like 47, 48. So if you can start at in your 30s and then work through that, keep that consistent throughout that time, The strength that you gain from being in the gym and lifting weights, and the strength that you get from eating good foods is just will help you so much more going through menopause. It will strengthen your mind and your body and will keep you so much healthier, because there's going to be all of these other things that come into play, like your unbalanced hormones that just wreak havoc in your body.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm not going through menopause, and I'm
Right.
going with that.
exactly.
Well, you always go through your whole, because, you know, if somebody was saying they'd had a baby like a year ago and they were like, I think I'm going through early menopause because I'm having hot flashes. And it's like, no, your
That's just
hormones
hormonal.
do this. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as women, we always have all this stress that we put on ourselves anyway, but then you add on, you know, all of the other things that happen with our hormones, and that hormonal imbalance really is a tough one to handle.
Man,
so,
it is.
Yeah.
Fucked.
So we need to have the other things. It is fucked. And it's
for women. For men, it can be solved a little bit easier. Like talking like with my doctors, like when you work with a man who's, you know, doing hormone therapy or trying to get his blood work figured out, it's a much more streamlined route. For women, we have so many different hormones that play massive roles throughout the month that like it really is this, like, you have to, it's like make tiny changes and try to find the perfect thing for that person. It is individualized.
It's very hard.
Yeah.
It's more intricate.
So people that are out there working on, you know, women's hormones, and thank you.
I work with Jeanna. Are you on any type of hormones? Have you?
No, I've been telling her, because she has this idea that like it's and it's not you. It's so many people. It's as if you're just prolonging the inevitable, which I suppose is true. But I feel like because of all of the endocrine disruptors and our things that are completely out of our control, stuff that's put in our products, stuff that we didn't even know about, that now is coming to light. That is what has caused it. Like people are having hormone issues at younger ages. It's mind blowing.
What I think
like
happened,
high school.
No, for sure. I think what happened was, because I actually just recently, I'm going to call a doctor and talk to them about it, because what happened was, I think I went through menopause so early that it wasn't the worst thing. I mean, like I would get like hot flashes, but I didn't have, I mean, I kind of like, when they told me that I was post-menopausal, I was kind of like, wait, what? Like, how did I just get through that? And like, not, because, you know, you just hear all of these things. And I don't know if, I mean, I'm just guessing. I don't know if it's because of the younger age that I did or what, but when I would go and I talk to my doctor, the doctor would say like, well, are you having this? And I'd say, no. Are you having like vaginal dryness? No. Are you having, you know, like all these like different symptoms? And they were like, well, we don't like to, you know, they basically explained it as if I went on hormones that I would eventually have to get off of them. And what was I prolonging? And I don't know. And I talked to like two different people about it. Cause I went to one doctor, and then like another person was like a doctor, and I was like, well, is this true? And they were like, oh yeah, I mean, that's what we would recommend. And I I was like, okay.
Yeah. I think
now I'm finding that I'm hitting my 50s. I'm like, whoa, something's going on. And my sleep is awful. I'm tired all the time, but I can't sleep. I feel like
that's me.
Right. And I'm exhausted, and I have the brain fog. You know, like there's so many times where I'm like, I want to say something and I'm like, wait, what was that word I was looking for? Is this Alzheimer's? Like, what is going on? You know, because I'm such a paranoid person anyway. And so I'm realizing that, and then I talked to somebody else and they were like, no, actually, they were explaining it. And I'm not a doctor.
Well, a big driving force in regular healthcare is they don't health insurance runs the freaking show, and they will not. I feel pretty confident in saying, you could quote me on this, but I've only ever spoken to one person in Florida that works in the healthcare industry, and she told me this is wrong, but every other person I've talked to, it is correct. Your healthcare provider, like your family doctor, anything besides like a couple very basic tests, like for like blood tests, they're not covered by insurance.
Right.
hormone care is not covered by insurance,
which is bullshit.
So why would they promote it, or why would they? Because they can't. They don't benefit as a provider, as a doctor. They won't benefit from that.
Right.
So,
That's why we need to talk about it more and more and more. And again, going back to like what we were saying at the beginning of this conversation is that once women get to a certain age, let's say late 40s, let's say, or 50, they're quieter. They don't share what's going on. They kind of go through menopause all by themselves. They don't have friends. I didn't have a community to talk to. All of my friends are younger than me. So I didn't have anybody to talk to. Mm-hmm. My mom went through menopause in her 30s and we thought she was like going insane. So, I was scared I was going to go through it early, and even through it at 50, I thought I was early. But anyway, I was talking to a friend who's 10 years younger than me, and she went through early menopause because she had some type of ablation thing going on. Mm-hmm. It pushed her to go through menopause at 48, 49. And she found out from a friend who was around the same age, was getting hormone replacement therapy, bioidentical. She was using bioidentical hormones. So here I was 60. This was 2 years ago, and I had gone through menopause at 50. They say there's a 10-year window where if you find the right hormone expert, that you can get hormone replacement therapy to feel like you did in your 20s and 30s. And so it's taken 2 years now for me to be at a level where I feel really, really good. I can fall asleep. I sleep 8 hours. Everything is balanced. I want to have sex again, everything. I didn't have that vaginal dryness thing either. So I had a lot of the same symptoms that you did going through menopause, thinking this is it. But I think it maybe has to do with the fitness level that we were at, maybe. No, I don't know. I don't know that for a fact, but I'll give you the name of my doctor. He's in Connecticut, but I've never met him in real life. So we always just do everything via Zoom, but I would look into it.
Do you do the pellets?
No. I don't do the pellets because what I've heard about the pellets, because I did look into that, is that they go in and you feel really, really good.
And then you crash.
Then you crash.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't want to crash. I wanted to I don't like that. I was scared. I didn't want to go, woo, I feel like I'm, 21. And then I feel like awful. I just want to stay level. It's like eating small meals throughout the days, ladies. You want to keep it steady. So no, at the beginning it was a little difficult because we tried everything that I was deficient in. So I gained like 6 pounds because your weight will fluctuate, but eventually if you're patient, and I was, we found the level that works for me. So yeah, it's just taking the time, and you have like a 10-year window that's what I've heard. That's what I think he told me. So.
My mom had to have a full hysterectomy at it was after she had me. So maybe like 31 or 32.
Oh, wow.
She had PCOS really bad. And for years, because especially at that time for her, the only advice, there wasn't very much advice given to her. And all they would want to do for women was just give them more estrogen, give them the female hormones. Well, that's when we found out, because I'm very estrogen dominant, which a lot of people probably wouldn't believe that. But so I can't take birth control because it was just putting more estrogen into my system. So I'm prone to cervical cancer, breast cancer, things like that, if I have an overrun of bad estrogen in my system. My mom, we found out because my grandma's twin, she got breast cancer, same sort of reason why. But my mom, I don't remember at what age, when she finally started going to see a bioidentical hormone specialist and getting on her hormones fixed, it was changed her life, changed it. So in her 30s, she had no sex drive. In her 30s, she was, dealing with so many things that I mean, I was alive back then, but I have no idea what kind of information was available back then. But I do know
way less.
There's way more now than there was back then.
Well, I started getting perimenopausal symptoms at 38. So they put me on, I was off birth control. I had both of my children. My ex-husband at that time, he was still my husband, had a vasectomy. So we weren't using any birth control, but they put me on a low dose of estrogen to help with the hot flashes and to help get my period regular again. Because I thought, oh my God, I'm going to be like my mother. I'm going to stop getting my period in my 30s. But then that continued for 10 more years. And then I started going through menopause. But it was a low dose of estrogen, which my body was able to handle. So many women, you have to also make sure that they're the right hormones for you based on your blood work. So every woman is different. So a lot of women, if they're prone to certain kinds of cancer, maybe can't use certain hormones. And a lot of women think it's certain hormones. Well, there are certain hormones that are going to make you more susceptible to certain cancers. However, if you go to the right type of expert, they won't give you more of that hormone. They'll supplement it with something else.
And finding someone who
knows what they're talking about.
They really do extensive lab work.
Right. Oh my God. My lab work, 10 minutes.
Yeah. That's where you get all of your information. And even like with my experience with my doctor, it's like, this is what I would recommend the most. We could try this, so there's things where there's not just like so you have that means you get this. Right. It is, if you're going to, at least the people that I work with at Live Health, they're like, we can run as many labs as you want. Yeah. They have an incredible laundry list of things that they can run labs for. And so what they do is, like, if someone really wants that lab checked, they'll run it. Like, you'll just pay for it. But what they tend to do is, like, there's starting out, like, these are the things that we're going to check. And based off of whatever we find, we may want to do these. We may want to do these, so they really can have a good visual of your health. And when certain markers are off, it's like, well, they know what that's connected to. So we're going to order some more tests that are more specific. Now we can, and I'm sure for you, it's the same. If you're working with a hormone specialist, they want you to have a family doctor. If there's anything that pops up, at least for us, if there's anything that pops up in my labs, and then we call in like more labs. Well, if it's, something that could be really concerning, it's like all that is taken to your provider, but you have this doctor that really is doing, if you ask me, like, healthcare done right. Now, it is tough because it does cost money. It's not covered by insurance, but it really does help you in the long run. Just having like that comfort of knowing that I'm getting regular blood work. Right. So if there is anything that's off, right? A precursor to something worse, right? They can spot it. They'll see inconsistencies, and then we can dive into it deeper beforehand, like be able to get ahead of the problem just by having someone that's keeping an eye on your health, just through your blood work, through your markers,
and right. And that just reminds you of something that if anybody, the people who are listening right now, if you are having any issues with your weight or mood swings or sleep or any of the things that we're touching on, get your blood work done, because that will tell you everything. That if you are gaining weight, losing weight, there could be something wrong, and you should have your blood work checked. I mean, my dog, she had gained like 4 pounds. She's a Rottie mix, and she's exercising more, and she's eating less food. It's the way we train people. Let's change your diet a little bit. Let's amp up the exercise a little. Let's have you do some cross training. You walk with the dog walkers, you go to daycare, you go swimming, and you're eating less food. And so I had her thyroid checked, and it came back normal. I'm like, okay, Ava, we gotta swim more then, So, but it's like that for people too. We just have to get the blood work. It tells you everything. So that's a very, very good point. At any age, if you feel any difference in your body and damn well that you're doing everything possible, and really be honest with yourself. Are you
right?
Are you really eating clean? Are you really working out the way you should be working out? And working out doesn't mean that you're at the gym 2 hours a day, although I'm sure all three of us are at the gym 2 hours a day. Just
you two are. I'm one.
Oh,
you're just one. Okay.
I'm a one.
I'm at a place where, you know, I get asked like, are you going to work out today? I probably should. Well, for me, I just did that 30-hour workout, 30 hours with no more than 10 minutes between.
What do you mean 30 hours of working out?
Yeah, I was at a veteran fundraiser event. It was a 30-hour workout.
Wow.
It was some of us were athletes, like, you know, some OG CrossFitters and then a bunch of veterans. And we all worked out together for 30 hours, no longer than 10 minutes between each workout. The first workout was 2.5 hours. And then the longest was like 6 hours.
Oh my God. Wow. That's nice. Wow.
Yeah. So I was
You must be a little tired.
Obliterated.
Yeah. That's a long time.
I was obliterated.
That's a really long time to be working out. I couldn't do it. But even, you know, in some days I do feel like working out for 2 hours. And there are other days where I just do a full body workout. I had Les Mills Body Pump at my studio. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Body Pump or anything. So
I definitely know that name.
Yeah, it's just really fun. It's an hour. It's a full body workout. It's 1 hour. You're done. Good. You know, and it's just like everything is time over tension. So it definitely hurts when you're doing lots of pulses. But sometimes, you know, and that's what I also want women to understand is that do what you need to do. But if you do have a goal, you've got to have a plan to reach that goal. So if it's to lose weight, if it's to gain muscle, if it's just to feel better, like do the workouts for that purpose. Like whatever the three of us do may not be right for you. So find somebody or one of us who can help you figure out what is right for you because everybody's different.
And just like us, you know, what is right for us is changing every year.
As we age. Yeah. As we age, you know, sometimes we don't want to go to the gym and it's not, again, going to the gym is just a very small percentage of it, but it is about moving your body.
Just get outside and go for a walk. If you don't exercise at all, go for a walk 30 minutes a day.
Totally.
Start there.
Totally. Yeah, start there. It's the easiest thing to do. Yeah. It's and it makes things easier when you get older.
You guys would know.
Well, you know what the other thing
I'm still figuring it out.
The walks for me are really good for just my overall, like my body, but like my mental health. Walks are really good for your mental health.
My oldest daughter, who's 34, just her divorce just got finalized in May. And she played sports in high school and then never played another sport, never lifted a weight, never went to the gym from the age of 18 to like 2 months ago. Now she is all of 4'10" and 79 pounds.
Oh,
and she's got biceps, she's got quads, she's got hamstrings, glutes, calf muscles. She's like basically a mini version of me. But she started, my point is she started with taking walks.
Mm-hmm.
And she knew every time she took a walk, she's like, wow, that felt really good. I'm going to do it again. It's not because she needed to lose weight. It's not for any of that, but it became a mental health thing going through her divorce. It really, really did. So that's the other important thing while you're going through menopause. It's for your mental health. If you're going through a relationship change, divorce or anything, it will keep you mentally and physically healthy to get through those hard times. Because those hard times are hard enough as they are. So if we don't have that strength to fall back on mentally or physically, we're way back behind. You know, it just makes everything harder.
Yep. And when your mental health is not serving you a positive outlook or feeling or optimism, man, is it hard to get out of ruts. And ruts are normal. We've said it, Jeanna, like your fitness journey in life, it's an ebb and flow. And it's so funny because every time I'm on like a downturn, I always have to remind myself, like, I know it. But when I don't feel good or you have to change your training around to adapt to where you are in life. It's like, it always still feels, there's so many moments where it feels like, am I just being a major pussy? Like, am I not doing like what I'm supposed to? It's like, no, I mean, life brings in stresses that are out of our control, and we are constantly surrounded by nothing but bullshit and stress. And so the exercise, going for a walk, like for me, because I lived in a gym as a job for so long, that it took a very long time for me to find a routine that wasn't the same as what I had done. Cause it was like, that took such a toll. And that when you're not doing that anymore, it's like, well, I only know how to go, 150%. How do I find
how do you maintain?
How do I find like what my new 100% is, like that will feel good, and I'll feel better about myself. My mind will feel better, and my body will feel good. And it is such a, that's just the way that it is. Like, being there for Jeanna, as she's also had to all of a sudden deal with like, well, shit, like something that's I figured out and has been working for me for the last like 3-4 years. Like all of a sudden, am I doing something drastically different? No.
Right.
Well, now it's like back to the drawing board.
Yep.
Right. I think that's a great point. Going back to the drawing board. It's okay to go back. And it's really important to have that conversation with yourself, to say it's okay. Give myself grace. I have to do something different. Even with the salmonella poisoning that I had 3 weeks ago, and I was in the hospital for 3 days with pancolitis.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Pancolitis from salmonella poisoning. I'd gotten down to 102. And I have not eaten an animal protein in 3 weeks, which is I've always eaten an animal protein. And so I'm trying to lean into, what does my body want? What does my body feel like eating? And being, okay, Jody, this is just temporary. You will be able to, hopefully you won't have PTSD over this, that you will be able to, I really don't care if I don't ever eat chicken again, but that's what made me sick. And, but you have to just like accept it, give yourself some grace and say, okay, this is where I am right now. And it's okay if everybody does that. I think that's very, very important. And so many women are so hard on themselves and they think they're pussies. They're not.
And it's because when we're logical, we know that it's not just us. But for some reason, when you're going through it, it feels like we're so special that only our lives are super shitty now.
Right. Yeah. You forget that there's so many other people that feel shitty.
Oh yeah. So if you're listening and you're like,
that's why they're listening to you.
Yeah. You're listening. You're like,
hey, shitty loves company.
I have to remind myself, remind yourself that like, this is not, it's just the normal. And it sucks when you feel good, especially because our society, everything is based off of how you look and how you look to other people. And for women, it's like, depending on how you look, your value, but that's the bullshit media, which is what everyone needs to kind of get away from, is that. I mean, we don't realize that we're allowing someone else to dictate how we feel about ourselves, but that's exactly what is happening. And if you have kids, get them off it, because now starting at an even younger age, they're learning to like need to fit a certain thing, right? Or like to fit in, or whether it's the clothes they wear or whatever. And it really just doesn't matter. And it totally is ruining their happiness. And you don't realize it until all of a sudden you're like, feel so awful. And then to try and figure that out can be a process. And one more note I wanted to mention is, if you guys are listening and you have kids, I don't have kids, but I have 12 nieces and nephews. And so I'm always talking to my siblings about it. I'm not a parent, so I can't tell them what they should do. But I do believe in, even if you have genes that are predisposed to things like diabetes or being overweight or whatever, you're not helping those kids by what you are feeding them. Now, I really believe in, if you are putting food, feeding them, putting food on their plate that is going to benefit them as they age and as they go through puberty and they go through all those things, we can really help and aid those kids to kind of skip over some of the bullshit that can be way worse for some than it is for others.
Right.
And it really comes down to, I think that the nutrition that we have our whole life, but as we grow, that is going to adjust how our body functions. And if we're filling our kids up with processed foods and bullshit because it's easy, and I know we're busy and I know life's busy. I mean, I live at home, my family's big, and we're all very active and very busy. So I 100% get it. But just by going that little extra mile for your children, you can help them maybe not go through a stage of like when they're in middle school and crying every day, school clothes shopping with because they haven't lost all their baby weight, or maybe now they've put on more weight because now their health might end up taking a dive down the road because of what we've been, training their changing their body.
It has to be,
through food.
The food that you feed your children has to be a priority. I mean, my kids they laugh about it now because I fed them in bowls. And like they ate like things that were concocted together, and they were eating tofu and things like that. And I'm not vegan, but the things they ate really, really healthy. And they laugh about it now, but I think pridefully laugh and make fun of me because they know that the way I was feeding them was the right way. And when my youngest one, who was a little chubby before she went through puberty, she came home, she had a hard time. So I had my oldest one who was always really tiny, and then my youngest one who was a little chubby. And I remember my oldest one saying to me, "Is Lexi going to be fat?" And I'm like, you be quiet. And Lexi would come home and she's like, "What can I eat that's not going to make me fat?" I'm like, "What did you say?" And I'm like, "We're talking about healthy, Lexi, healthy." And, she got her period and she lost all the baby fat and she became hot. And then Alyssa was like, "How come my little sister's so hot?" I'm like, that's what you get. So, but it's so important that we teach them from such a young age how to eat healthy, because that takes them through their whole life. And whatever the decisions they want to make about what they put in their mouth now is completely up to them. We can only, as parents, we can only do so much.
Yeah, you can only control to a certain point.
Right. But you can teach them, because that's our job, is to teach them when they're young. So they go out into the world and they fly and they flourish and they do good things in the world for humanity.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm glad you said that. So important.
Well, I just think about it because, everyone's going to go through the process of whatever it is for you to grow up. It's different for different people. I was always extremely active, always. But I feel like I didn't bloom till like my senior year of high school. And even then I continued to like bloom, and it wasn't because I was eating candy all the time, or crap. It was just the way my body was. So what I mean too, for parents that have kids, and why I say, the argument is that everything's going digital, and to keep your kids off of iPads is you're really just doing them a disservice. Get the fuck out of here. Okay. You're doing them a disservice by teaching them, by giving them entertainment that has them constantly subconsciously thinking like, I want to look like that. I want to do this. I want to look like that. And it's like, I didn't have social media when I was growing up, and it was hard as shit. The amount of times that my mom was stuck with 3 daughters crying in a dressing room it's very sad.
I had to too.
It's like,
right.
And that's kind of inevitable. Girls going through puberty, and everyone, looks a little bit different. Like me and all my sisters, none of us ever really looked the same. Like we all grew up a little bit different, and we hit puberty different. And now I think about, cause like I have like, nieces and nephews, and, nieces that, even like my little cousin, now she's 21, but like, I remember when she was young and my aunt was telling me she was coming home from school talking about how fat her legs were, it's just sad. And I feel like, help them by getting rid of some of those words and those labels that we tend to, once you get in that label, like that's who you are. And that's ridiculous, but that is how the brain works. Right. And when you have kids that maybe, deal with just wanting to fit in at school. And then, then you're worried about what you're wearing. And now you're worried about like, well, I don't look like her, girls that hit puberty earlier in life. There's already just a Rolodex of trials and things that are inevitable for kids as we grow up, but helping them eat right, helping them understand health versus, doing things for your health versus like, just because you want to look a certain
What
way
you
and like
look like.
going on a diet.
Right.
Like,
It's always about the health. It's always, it's always got to be about the health. And that's why it's important that you take care of yourself while you're going through menopause. Those kids are usually teenagers when you're going through that full circle.
And you want to kill them.
Right. And you want to kill them because you're going through menopause and they're going through puberty. And it's, it's not easy.
Interesting.
Well, yeah. I mean, like puberty, like who was I talking to about this? It's like puberty, you're getting all the hormones you need to become fertile and to become a woman. And then when you start going through menopause, all of that stuff is taken away from you. You giveth and you take it away. And it's like, now deal with this. And that's why knowledge is so powerful. That's why we need
You're like, at that point, you're like, haven't I dealt with enough?
Yeah, of course.
Seriously.
And I'm sure Jeanna could feel that.
Yes.
I could see her nodding and totally understand that. But I will tell you, there's a bright light at the end at 60. It's like you've already dealt with so much stuff, whether it's kids, divorce, menopause, toxic relationship, job changes, right? Your body changes. By the time you hit 60, you're like, okay.
All right, I made it. That was the longest marathon I've ever had to run.
Right, I made it, but things still start shifting. That's when the shift, you think things are shifting now. Things just shift in a different way now. Now it's so that's why it's, again, really important to find out what your hormones are doing and getting them balanced and finding somebody that's the right person, not just for you, but like for everybody who's listening. Just those hormones, they control everything, right? They control everything. I remember hearing Jillian Michaels say that 25 years ago. Your hormones control everything. Your metabolism I think she said your hormones control everything. They control your metabolism and everything. That was years ago, like when she was on that TV show.
Well, I am out of control.
Yeah. Well, we can talk afterwards. I'll give you the name of the doctor.
I know.
Yeah.
I need something because I took a card from somebody, but she was really selling the pellets, but I didn't realize that it went like that. And I don't know that I want to.
That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Brooke,
I only know that because my dad has the testosterone pellets, and really, he does not like them.
And how does your mom like them?
Oh, she likes them. No, but he doesn't like them because of the drop off.
Okay.
Right.
And you can't just go and have more. You have to wait until it's time to put new ones in. And so that's what sucks is like,
right. You feel it being depleted and you want that
a steady,
right. The steady flow, but then he's got to drop. So is he going to go look into bioidentical hormones?
Yeah, in fact, I'm going to get him linked up with the doctor that I use, just because the doctor that he uses, and it's like, until he finds something new, that's who he's been seeing, and that's what he's been doing. But what he hates about that, and this is when you do search out doctors, do your research. I would recommend, don't just go to your family doctor and say, I want to get blood work done. Don't. No. You really could. If you just go to someone who what they do, like if I'm just talking to women, we have male listeners too, like a female like women's health center
provider. Yeah,
that's where they're really going to, one, like my doctor, woman, love it, because just like me having conversations with you or me and Jeanna talking, it's like for her, it's like she's already been through it.
Yeah,
and so she has a really good idea of like, these are avenues we should take, or you should, let's skip over all this. Like she's been through it herself and that's what she does. But if you just go to your provider, the chances of them having a very limited list of hormones they would check, actually even checking them for you at all, low.
And forget about your OBGYN. They don't really talk about that.
No, that's because they don't know it.
They don't know it. They didn't learn about that. And yeah, you have to find the right doctor that works for you and is patient with you, and you're patient with the whole process, because it is a process. I spoke to Dr. Jennifer Berman. She's out in Beverly Hills. She's
I know the name.
Okay, yeah, she's been on the show a couple of times, and she is a urologist, but she does a lot of work with women with hormone replacement therapy. And she talks strongly about how important it is for women to have their estrogen, their testosterone. So I'm on a bunch of things, but yeah, on all of those things: progesterone, estradiol, testosterone, DHEA, and thyroid. So,
yeah, I think
and
for
you
me,
feel
it's
good.
just, it's
I do.
so,
I do.
like, to start the process, you're like, where do I go? What do I do?
And see,
Because again, I've gone to my GP and they've said, oh, you're good. You're fine. So it's like, well,
I was told the same thing.
Yeah, I don't feel fine. And I think that's the other problem, is that there's this idea that once you get to a certain age, you're no longer like a viable human. It's kind of like,
absolutely, you are
what I mean?
right.
Yeah, it's like you're
right.
just, you're just
disposable.
You're disposable. You're on the second half of your life. You're dying, in a few years anyway. And it's like, wait, what? No, I thought
we're very relevant.
If you think about it, I have, my grandmother on one side is turning 100 this year.
Wow.
My grandfather on the other side lived till he was 103. I'm like, well, no, this is only halfway. Do I just want to just slowly, die? I mean,
no,
that's not what I want.
Or just suffer the whole time.
Suffer. Yeah. It's kind of like, oh, well, you're a woman and you've gone through menopause. So that's just what you're supposed to do. And it's like, well,
you're exactly right.
Yeah. I should be able to feel like I did. I know that I'm not 20. I know that I'm not 30, but there is this idea that it's like, well, that's just part of that. And it's like, what? I don't know.
You're like, I don't think it is.
I don't really want it to be, So,
No, I'm telling you, no, absolutely not. Now, if you don't feel right, you need to find the right person to help you get there, because you have a lot more living to do. Yeah. And you're like, only 53, for God's sake. That's nothing. You're a child still.
I'm a child.
You're a child. Well, and
I love that. Thank you, Jody.
So everyone knows too, you find someone to run your blood work. That doesn't mean once you find someone to do a blood panel, like now you have to do whatever no, you don't have, it doesn't mean like the next step is like getting on hormone therapy. Correct. No, it's information.
Now you get to decide.
And then you make a plan.
Mm-hmm.
You make a plan that's going to make you feel the best, going to have the best outcomes. And for women, it's kind of trial and error. So it's very small changes over a period of time. So they can see how, as our, things change throughout a month, they see how things happen and change throughout the month. And you get new blood work done. Like I've got my next step, I have to do a Dutch test next, which is it's a urine sample test. So I can see what's being used. We can see what I'm peeing out. My first thyroid pills medication that I was on, turns out that after like 6 months of being on it, it didn't change anything. I was on I can't remember what it's called, but it's the thyroid that's made from a pig.
Synthroid.
Yep. And what they were noticing was, and assuming based off of all my blood work and all the tests, was that my body was actually changing it into estrogen. There were things. So for me, when they had to put me on a synthetic thyroid pill, instantly my body was actually reacting to it and responding.
Interesting.
But I was definitely in rough shape. I had no dopamine. I had no serotonin. I had a lot of things.
But you felt this, because you're so in tune with your body, and you felt all of these. You felt like a shift happening, right?
Oh, I felt very, very bad. This started in August, and I finally contacted somebody because I found Live Health through two really good friends of mine and Jeanna's, Dave Lipson and Camille LeBlanc-Pazanet, and they had been working with them for a long time. And so then I called and had like my consult over the phone. This was in like February. But I mean, and then it took a year of small changes. And then all of a sudden started to actually feel a little bit better. But just by getting my blood work done and having someone there that is reading everything, and it's an effort of a team. You have a team. You're no longer on your own trying to figure out everything that's going wrong.
It makes you feel safer. It makes you feel like you're in a safe place. That's other people are like, it's not just you trying to figure it out. And I think what's so great about this conversation is that, the perspective of somebody in their 30s, 50s. Is Devin in her 40s?
She is.
Well, where the hell is she today?
I know.
Kidding, right? So it's just so important. Like, everybody who's listening has to realize that there are changes that occur at any point in your life. It's just, the longer you wait to help yourself feel better, the harder it is to catch up. Yeah. And because it just gets harder as we get older, but it doesn't have to. And just, for somebody 34 years old and getting this blood work, knowing that there's something that doesn't feel right, and you took care of it. And that's, so many people don't. They're like, I'll feel better. But no, it's that blood work. You got to get it taken care of.
Yep.
How's your dog?
Okay.
I don't know. They haven't called. So I'm hoping that there's no missed calls.
No news is good news.
Yes. Oh my God. I was crying when I left her this morning.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know. I just got scared.
I understand that. We're a big dog loving fam.
You guys will.
Oh yeah.
What do you
with
have,
our dogs,
Jeanna?
Well,
I don't have a dog.
Oh, you don't have dogs? No.
Okay.
No. I got rid of my last kid, and I just don't want anything to take care of.
I know the feeling. I live by myself. So
Just
it's
plans.
like, I just don't, I got plans.
Plans.
Oh, I thought you said plans. I got plans.
You got plans, dude. Your schedule's chock full of plans.
I know. Yeah. I'm just gone too much. I just wouldn't be a good dog mom.
Yeah.
I don't hate animals. I'm just not a big.
You just don't feel like nurturing anything.
I don't want to nurture anything. I'm so over it. I just want to be me.
Right.
Haven't been that for, since ever, probably.
I didn't feel that way until I closed the studio in September. And then I was like, okay, now I'm just going to work on me. I'm just going to really focus on me. And it's been really nice. But now I feel like I need to create something. So the podcast came because I can't sit still very long. So then my daughter and I decided to do the podcast. I'm going to revise my meal plan and gear it more towards, women that are older. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's always the same thing. It's good food, it's eating healthy, and so on and so forth. But again, I want to give that voice to women who feel like they're not being heard. I think it's just so important.
I love that. Yeah. I think it's so important.
Me too. Yeah. Me too. And I think, I just think there are a lot of women out there. They're like, where do I go? The problem with podcasts and women over 60 is that women over 60, for the most part, I'm not saying this is for everybody, they don't know what a podcast is.
Right. Right.
So
I knew you were going there. Yeah. I was thinking the same thing.
They don't know. And I took my daughter to, she was when we did the show on Friday, and then she went to get her hair done. And I was talking to the owners there, and some of them are in their 70s. And one of the women were like, oh, you look so good. You look so good. What have you been doing? How's the studio? And I told them, and I said, I'm just really focusing on my podcast and this meal plan I'm writing, blah, blah. And she said, now what's a podcast? And I said,
whoa,
it's like a radio show.
Right. Yeah.
And so she's like, well, how do I hear it? Do I hear it in the car? I'm like, no. Have you heard of Spotify? And she said, yes. I go, so you go to Spotify, just put my name in, because she kept getting Fearlessly Authentic confused. So I said, just put in my name and you'll get it. She's like, oh, right here. And I said, yes. And then you just press play.
Yeah, you just press, that's
but
simple.
That is right. Yeah. But that's the hard thing is people are like, I don't know where to get a podcast. So it's a radio show. So that's the other. That's the
radio show.
Hey, hey.
It really is.
Yeah. I love that.
Well, Jody, do you let all of our listeners know where they can find you, and if you have any last remarks?
You can find me on all social platforms at Jodi Harrison Bauer. So that's JodiHarrisonBauer. I'm on YouTube and every social media platform. And all lasting words to live by is just start moving. Start moving. Everything else will come from there, but just start moving wherever you are in life and just cut out the sugar. Like, if I can give you one tip, and stay away from the fried foods and stay out of the sun. That's really it, because it does get more complicated as you get older, as you've heard from all of us, and if you don't feel well, get your blood work checked.
And if our listeners are only listening to this, and you need to go on our YouTube and just see how amazing Jody looks so that you understand why this is so important. Live her ways.
And it's not just about the looks. I appreciate that.
No, I just mean, but I'm just saying it's not about just being, this outside package, but the fact that you've been able to age in you've slowed the aging process.
I hope
you can see it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. I kind of feel like what happens on the inside tends to reflect on the outside. So it's not, I wasn't trying to make it about, just that, but you got the whole package.
Thank you.
You do.
I really appreciate that. I really, really do. And I think I love the energy in this room right now. I love talking to both of you. You just gave me a boost of energy. So thank you.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah. I feel like I had just a boost of B12. So thank you. Thank you for the good vibes. It was such a great conversation. I loved being here.
Oh, it was wonderful.
Welcome.
So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, Jody. It was great.
Thanks for
Just one more reminder to anyone listening. Jody's podcast is Fearlessly Authentic. That is her podcast.
Authentic. And coming out soon will be Old.
Love that.
With my daughter, Lexi.
Old.
Yeah. Old.
Love that. Old.
Because we're all getting old.
We're all getting old.
Yeah. And it's not a bad thing.
Oh, well, thanks so much for being on.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
She's darling.
That was fantastic. I was a guest on Jody's podcast, and that's how we found her.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
When she said she was 62, I went, what?
I know. Everyone listening that always is so surprised by that Jeanna's 53. This is just yet another woman who you're like, no.
What? She's amazing. Okay, guys. Well, thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to
rate, review, subscribe, 5-star rating, 5-star warning.
And we'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.